All right, thank you very much. Hello, everybody, for joining this session on institutional stewardship. So what we want to talk to you about is how institutions can take a more progressive and direct step in how publishing is happening, also how it's being funded, but also how integrity, production, etc., can be something that institutions can help with and already have a little bit of an overview before it just goes to a publisher. Institutions don't know where it's being published and eventually receive an invoice 18 months later or so. But until then, they don't know what their researchers are doing and where they're submitting, etc. So that is one part of the discussion. And the other one is obviously, together with the help of the great panelists that we have here, talk about what has happened in terms of institutional stewardship already. So we have couple of panelists who are also very familiar with different agreements, transformative agreements, and so forth. So we have, sadly, only digitally, because Dirk prefers the cold weather of Germany over 32 degrees in Bangkok. So Dirk is the librarian from Bielefeld and is part of the Project Deal negotiation group, so quite knowledgeable and hopefully sharing a little bit of the insights that he has from the recent years. Then we have Kruti here, who is also librarian from India, and a researcher, so that you'll be able to speak a little bit on the One Nation, One Subscription initiative that has also been initiated lately. So we hope that with these two initiatives in India and Germany that are quite different, but still happened in recent years, that we can also have a little bit of an exchange of what can be learned from these different initiatives in different markets. And then we have Carsten. He is the founder of SciFlow, which is a content management tool. I would maybe describe it like that. And then later on, we will also go more into the direction after having the agreements and helping how publishers can be managed, how institutions can also take more stewardship on the actual production, actually helping the researchers to conduct their research and bring them into a form together with integrity checks, etc., which is something that I'm also working on. I'm Philip. I have my own little company, Publishing Gateway, where we're helping institutions to set up all of their financial agreements, etc., and then let them, researchers of these institutions, submit their manuscripts directly to the platform, where we do integrity checks, etc., before it actually goes out to publishers, so that the institutions have a bit of stewardship there as well. So to start, I will hand over to Dirk, due to the fact that Project Deal has been around for a couple of years. And Dirk, can you share a little bit what sparked the Project Deal in general and some historic context of what it does and did so far?
Yeah, thank you, Philip. Hello, everybody. Sorry, I didn't make it to Bangkok. I would have to like to go to Bangkok, but I wouldn't make the trip. Deal essentially started in 2013 when the rector of university in Germany, following failed negotiations with Elsevier, called on the German Rectors Conference to organize central negotiations for all universities in Germany in order to ease the burden on university budgets. Previously, from 2008 to 2010, there had been so-called national licenses in Germany, which were national opt-in consortia based on a license model that was in most cases inventory orientated for selected journal packages from medium-sized publishers like, let's say, American Institute of Physics or Annual Reviews, De Gruyter in Germany, Institute of Physics, Karger, Oxford University Press, and so on. And this project was succeeded by the so-called Allianz licenses from 2010 to 2020. The so-called Alliance of German Science Organizations, which includes the German Research Foundation, the Science Council, Helmholtz Association, Max Planck Society, Leibniz Association, and so on, In addition to the German Rectors Conference formulated the goals of DEAL in 2014, which were to improve the supply of literature to German science through comprehensive licensing, in particular from the major publishers Elsevier, Springer Nature, and Wiley, bundling market power on the demand side, achieving better market conditions, and breaking the publisher logic that once sales volumes have been achieved, they should not fall below a certain level or should grow steadily. And with regard to open access, the initial focus was on strengthening green open access. And with the advent of transformative agreements, particularly in Austria from 2014 onwards, open access publishing in hybrid and gold open access journals was added as well. From 2017 to 2023, all major scientific institutions in Germany canceled their Elsevier subscriptions. In 2019, the first national D agreement was concluded with Wiley, followed by Springer Nature in 2020. And the current agreement period runs from 2024 to 2028 and has also included Elsevier since 2024. So just in short, what has DEAL achieved in Germany so far and what has it not achieved? I think we have achieved that most scientific institutions pay less for the three major publishers than they would in a pure subscription system. Scientific institutions have access to much more extensive portfolio of journals than they could have ever financed individually. Payments include open access publishing in hybrid journals, and there are discounts for publishing in gold open access journals. Germany has built up an infrastructure that supports the monitoring of publication volumes and open access shares, as well as cost monitoring for scientific institutions. I think we have achieved that we have an infrastructure that can manage a national consortium in this size. And of course, the proportion of open access journal articles that are published directly in open access is now around about 80% on average at the larger scientific institutions and over 90% at some institutions like, let's say, the Max Planck Society. The evaluation of the first contract phase is not yet complete, but some points that could not be achieved or prevented are obvious. The flipping of private journal titles to open access was not achieved. Price increases for APCs in gold open access journals were not prevented. Price increases for the additional costs of open access publishing were not prevented. And there are only initial approaches to regulate data tracking by publishers, which is maybe kind of German discussion, but it's important to us in the discussion in recent years. So my last remarks, what are the initial conclusions so far? Since 2024, the German Research Foundation has also begun to centrally promote diamond open access publishing in Germany. And just to make the connection to the opening remarks of Philip, I would say that DEAL has brought cost savings and planning security to the big three publishers until 2028. And in addition, we think that artificial intelligence offers great potential for making publishing processes more efficient. And as in other sectors of the economy, we think that cost reductions at publishers must be reflected in price reductions or cost reductions at scientific institutions. And yeah, that's my opening statement, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Especially the last point is surely something that we can discuss in greater detail. And I think, or fully agree with you, that if these cost efficiencies happen, and yes, you still have all of your staff and the publisher, but so does the institution, and it can still be done more efficiently, for sure. But we'll come to that later. I think you said a lot of interesting things also about which publishers you worked with, and maybe afterwards we can also talk a little bit about why in that way, in contrast to what maybe Kruti, you can talk a little bit about for One Nation, One Subscription in India, what your motivations were, how the setup is, and where you are with the project at the moment.
Sure. So, hello everyone. In terms of ONOS, it is a transformative steps towards the equitable access to knowledge across the country. So the idea is knowledge is when knowledge is shared, it grows, right? So earlier in India, the knowledge was distributed in differently. It's a differentiate access was provided to different institutions. So what sparks the government is the idea and to believe that knowledge should be accessible to each and every institutions of the country. It should not be restricted to geographic or geographic institutions or institutions with the good finance or top tier institutions. So it should reach out to each and every institutions. While India is now producing the more amount of research output, and it shares this significant amount of research in global aspect. So the knowledge is still limited to limited institutions. It not reach out to each and every institution. So the vision behind ONOS is to transform the knowledge access by establishing the unified, equitable, consolidated knowledge access management to provide the seamless access to Indian researchers. So by removing the financial barrier as well as to the providing the gap between this knowledge inequitability, India aims to strengthen its research ecosystem. So the question is not how India or how institutions afford the knowledge or how afford the access, but how to contribute in production of knowledge. So that is the vision behind the ONOS. So as you know, ONOS is now already implemented. It provides access to around 13,000 journals from 30 major publishers. And as of now, when regard to transformative agreements, we successfully negotiated transfer read and publish model only for one publishers. But another vertical ONOS is working is APC to provide the APC support to Indian researchers. So the goal is to strengthen the research ecosystem and to strengthen the journal, open access journal and open access repositories. So the ONOS will set up a stage, or it acts as a foundation so that Indian researchers can consume the research and then it produce the research, and that research can be shared and can be validated. So that is the main aim.
Okay, and one of the biggest contrasts that we can see here, as Dirk mentioned, in Germany for Project Deal, that has so far been done with the 3 big publishers, right? And you now mentioned that you have done it with 30 different publishers. Being German, know a little bit more about Project Deal and how this went down. Maybe, Dirk, anything you can spill the tea on would obviously be nice to if you did so. But how did it work for 30 publishers? Was that one negotiation with all of them? You mentioned only with one you have read and publish. Did you all put them in one room and said, we're India, this is happening, get used to it? Or did you talk to them individually? How did this negotiation happen? And then maybe, Dirk, you can also share a little bit your feedback. Yeah.
So, well, it says Rome was not built in a day, right? So it took years of implementation and years of practice and years of planning. First it started with the vision in 2022 in NEP. So the ONO started as an idea, as a vision. So from vision to implementation, it involves the mapping of member institutions, mapping of the requirement, then the resources, the list of what are the publishers, the selection of publishers, interministerial coordination, the pulling out of the budget. So that was all required at that time. But when the turning point started, when actually the ONO started negotiating with the publishers, so the negotiations would not happen in a single day or in a single, it was very complex, very large. So earlier it started with the 70 publishers, but after that it was restricted to again 26 publishers, and then another 4 more publishers were added. So there were 4 rounds of negotiations happened with a different times. So first RFE was issued to all 70 publishers, then first round of negotiations were happened, and after negotiating term, then that model was unable to work out. Then again the second RFP were issued for some 2,000 institutions, and so there are a lot of discussions, deliberations was going at ministry level, at government level, and after that, in 2024 the final negotiations happened, and the terms as well as the rate subscriptions were negotiated with the publishers. And ONO successfully negotiated rate, and it made success to ONOS. Yeah.
I think that you mentioned also this incredible amount of institutions that are part of it. I know Project Deal is organized under its own company, if you wish, right? So for the implementation, maybe Dirk, you can say a little bit about the setup, how you organize all of these institutions?
Yeah, first of all, we decided to start with Elsevier, Springer Nature, and Wiley because the proportion of those 3 publishers in the German market regarding the proportion of journal articles published in 1 year is around about 60%.
Makes sense.
So if you want to achieve a huge increase in the open access share of journal articles, then it made sense to start with the big publishers. Outside of Deal, we have organized a group of librarians and consortia, which is called Forum 13, which is negotiating contracts on a national level for the next 13 biggest publishers on the German market, which include, for example, let's say, Taylor and Francis or Cambridge University Press, or the open access publishers like Frontiers or MDPI and so on.
Okay.
And it was a huge, let's say, challenge in Germany to implement a central let's say, infrastructure to organize a nationwide consortium. In Germany, we have around about 120 full universities. We have around about 420 universities of applied sciences. We have the big research organizations like Max Planck, Helmholtz, Leibniz, Fraunhofer, and so on. And to organize these heterogeneous group of academic institutions was quite challenging for us, and we are glad that we have achieved now an infrastructure which is able to handle all the big contracts in Germany.
Mm-hmm. And that is a normal company, right? That at the end of the day takes that over.
Came out from the Max Planck Digital Library, and let's say, the legal form changed a bit, and now it's an own company. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you, just to be precise on that one, the institutions that are part of it, namely all of those that you just mentioned, they pay the money to that company, and the company pays out the cost for publication, etc., to these publishers. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. The participating institutions do not have contracts with the publishers directly. We, as for example, Bielefeld University Library, have a contract with the so-called DEAS, Deal, Forgot the name, which was recently changed. It's the organization which is handling all the agreements with the publishers. So we pay directly to the organization which is handling the contracts with the publishers. We are not paying directly to the publishers. There are some exceptions, for example, when it comes to the extra cost of publishing. For example, I don't know, color charges, page charges, and so on. In some cases, they are paid directly by the authors or institutions to the publishers. But the APCs and the fees for read and publishing in hybrid journals are paid to the central organization.
Okay, and they organize it, and then you, at the end of the day, get your participation report, if you wish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and how do you do that in India now? So you obviously also have a large number of institutions. Is it also that you have one central office, etc., that takes care of that? Is that more individualized? How do you have this set up?
So, InflipNet Center is designated as an implementing agency. So, with the existing infrastructure we have at InflipNet Center, so we take the all onboarding of the members to provide the access to resources, to set up the access mechanism, infrastructure, and as well as to monitor the usage statistics, as well as the APC aspects, and to build the knowledge discovery. So everything we at the Government Institute InflipNet is taking care of all this.
Okay, so then it is a centralized piece
yes.
at the end of the day. And how, for both of you actually, you were now also talking about usage statistics, and Dirk, you mentioned some things that might not have worked. For instance, APC cost for publishing hasn't really gone down, etc. The quality criteria that you also have for One Nation, One Subscription, do you get just the usage statistics? Is it something where you have other KPIs or goals that you are reviewing over the next years for the first project initially? And where do you think you can take these ultimately? So you said you wanted access to everybody at every institution, independent if they are rich or not, simply speaking. But is that also something where you measure the output or the success of having that access, namely more researchers, just more output, more high quality impact factor publications? What is the essence of where you want to take this and do quality assurance?
Yeah, so we at InflipNet Center, we developed the InfiStat portal that harvests the usage statistics from different publishers, and we monitor on monthly basis, resource-wise, the usage of the journal, what we are providing access to. So not only in aspect of usage, but in terms of publication also, we established the dashboard to national level publication monitoring system, so that if what is the terms of usage, and in terms of publication, what is the relation between that, so that we are monitoring. And still, ONOS is just 1 year old. So now, maybe after 1 year just completed, so now we will take this massive exercise of usage and the publication. So then maybe times will let us know that whether it's a really effective model or not. So yeah, but hopefully based on the earlier data and based on the statistical data we analyzed, we believe that India's research will definitely go up.
Yeah, and maybe over to you, Dirk, for these two parts. How are you measuring that? And then obviously the piece of cost control there, that might also then be a good segue to talk about what steps could be taken there. But for now, what's the quality measurement for you?
Yeah. First, let me say that I like the approach in India very much to concentrate all these questions in one single hand or one single project, let's say. In Germany, we have the situation that we can, of course, measure the increase, for example, of the open access proportion of journal articles and so on. We have also initiatives which are outside of DEAL, which are doing cost control monitoring, an initiative called OpenAPC. We have, of course, bibliometric analysis regarding the impact of German research articles. It's called Competence Center for Bibliometrics in Germany, but it has nothing to do officially with DEAL. And there are some institutions which are part of the bibliometric network as well. For example, the Max Planck Society or Bielefeld University and other institutions, but there's no real, let's say, direct connection between the DEAL project and the monitoring of the impact of German research articles. And that's why I like the approach in India very much. When it comes to cost monitoring, we can see in the data we have in OpenAPC that there was a huge increase of APCs in gold open access journal titles. And it's different from institution to institution. But just to give you an impression, for example, for Bielefeld University Library, the increase for an APC, average APC in a Wiley journal in 2019 to, let's say, 2024 increased around about 75%.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And in addition, I mentioned in the beginning that there are additional costs for publishing, which are not tracked centralized by libraries, for example, in the past. These are costs for collar charges, submission fees, cover fees, and whatever fee a publisher is inventing. And we are now at the beginning to centralize or to monitor these additional costs more centralized. And
as
we see a lot of costs there as well, which were not really known to us.
And this you do as the University of Bielefeld, not as the whole project DEAL?
It's not part of the project DEAL. We are doing it in the open access monitoring initiative, OpenAPC. Okay. But most of the universities are doing it because the German Research Foundation is asking them to do it. The keyword for this is information budget. The Science Council in Germany published a paper some years ago in which they said that major research institutions and universities have to build up information budgets in order to see those kinds of costs as well. And we know that in universities, the additional costs paid per authors are not as huge as in research organizations like Helmholtz, for example. But we have to see the data in 2 years, I would say.
I think that is a very interesting point and maybe a good segue, because obviously, Carsten, you're also listening in on this and part of this panel as somebody who has a company that sells also into institutions, right? So you have subscriptions where institutions can help their researchers to work better. Maybe you can explain a little bit also what you are doing here, and then we can step a little bit towards how does that help controlling some of these costs? How could initiatives where institutions and researchers are already actively doing something help with controlling that?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Carsten from SciFlow, and I very much enjoyed the discussion about the large initiatives, One Nation, One Year project Year in Germany. Sorry, One Nation, One Subscription. No, One Nation, One Subscription. I'm getting used to it. And Project Year in Germany. But as you know from the description of that session, by far, this is not everything that libraries are doing, and this is not everything libraries are focusing, and this is not everything what is trending right now. I learned this week that in India there are initiatives also for diamond open access, where repositories play a central role. And obviously, this is also something that happens in Germany. So diamond open access over the last years gained a big push. So, and obviously, if you think about when it comes to such initiatives, building up publication infrastructure for getting, for doing studying on publishing initiatives at the institution, it is a very big and a very challenging task. When you think back, libraries 10, 20 years, 30 years ago, it was about providing content. Now with open access, it was about providing access. But as a next step, it's more about actually not just giving access, but also supporting researchers from the institution to create knowledge and to share it with us in the university. And therefore, a lot of, not just new capabilities, but also infrastructure is necessary. This is where tools like what Philip is doing with Publishing Gateway and SciFlow comes in. So we can support institutions in setting up their own publishing capabilities. So that on the one side you have the big and important contracts, but on the other side you can support your local researchers in publishing their own research, basically. And I think both initiatives are equally important. And as there are contracts established with the big publishers, also tools like SciFlow and what Philip is doing with Publishing Gateway become more important to build up publishing capabilities.
I think one important aspect of this, and obviously, please, Turkin Kruti, give your feedback on it. One thing that I find fascinating with that is also the culture change that you have to then put into an institution itself. So as you will very well know, only because an institution now has a great agreement doesn't mean that any researcher knows about this agreement or the possibility to publish this, use that tool, etc. Yeah, sure, it's written somewhere on a blackboard. Please use all of these tools. We have a license for it. But really bringing the researcher to the point that they see, okay, my institution is doing that in a trustworthy way. I know how to use these tools. They make my life easier. I don't need to run around and get an APC bill here or need to resubmit with different publishers there, but can really go in and trust my institution or the group of institutions that I belong to do these tools and to use these tools. So maybe a question for you, and I would really be interested in the different perspectives. How do you see those culture changes communicated within your countries and your institutions?
So I'll go?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So in ONOS, we started, just now we started capacity building, where our aim is to reach out each and every user. So every Friday we are conducting the training programs. Apart from that, the train the trainer programs, and we also organize the regional level, language specific, subject specific training program. So the idea is not only to get them aware what resources are and how they can access the resources, but another idea is how they can take the stewardship and how they as a librarian, under the training program, the librarian should take the major active role in the research, production of research. So we are in collaboration with different publishers. We are conducting trainings on the research integrity, research production, how they can select the journals, and how they they can, before publishing, what are the steps they have to follow and what kind of aspects they have to taken care of. So this kind of trainings also we are providing. So like I said earlier, the ONO's main aim is not just to provide access to resources. It is not the providing access is not the end, it is beginning. So the main aim behind the ONOS is the production of Indian open access research to strengthen the open access and open science initiative in India. And another aspiration goal is to validate that research and to come up with some research assessment methods. So to let the public aware about all these things. Apart from that, we also provide plagiarism tool, access to plagiarism tool to each institutions. We also have a Shod Chakra that provides the research life cycle. So under that, we also integrate all these aspects under that tool.
I assume you mean plagiarism checks, not plagiarism itself.
Yes, yeah, plagiarism check.
So I think for the plagiarism checks, that is an interesting piece because they're one thing that we haven't fully touched upon yet. And Dirk, I would also like to hear what you have to say to this question. But the stewardship for an institution, from my perspective, and I think we talked about this before, is also to provide that integrity. If there is fraudulent behavior or no institution wants bad publications coming out of their institution, right? It's good if they're checked that you are not part of that paper mill, etc. Those things become quite important. So maybe can you share a little bit after Dirk? Maybe you can also share a little bit of the setup there, how you guarantee this, how you want to monitor this going forward.
Yeah, from my perspective, as far as I know it in Germany, I would say that the cultural change Carsten has mentioned stopped at a certain point in Germany, I would say. Of course, we have repositories. Of course, a lot of universities and university libraries are publishing their own journals on an institutional level, publishing their own books on an institutional level. They are university publishers in Germany. We have a search engine for all the publications on institutional repositories, which is called BASE, which is also provided by University Library in Bielefeld. I think there is an infrastructure for publishing at German institutions or German academic institutions, that's for sure. But when it comes to questions regarding research integrity, or when it comes to questions, what is the best place for let's say open access publication coming out of a certain university, then I would say the universities or university libraries in Germany are saying, okay, questions about research integrity, questions about how to place a journal article in the best available journal is something which has to be done in the academic community. So the library stopped there. And so I would really appreciate if there is a tool which would help the universities to make better decisions and more efficient decisions in how to publish a journal article, no matter if it's published on an institutional level or institutional journal or on a commercial journal.
Yeah, I mean, there are some initiatives, and it's not pure self-advertisement, but we, for instance, do this as well with the journal recommenders, right? Where we also look at, these are the researchers, that's their H-index, that's their publication history, that's the concept of the article, and can then directly match that against a journal that would be most suitable for this person. And then you get the also time saving for researchers. It's also for them very troublesome to follow a style guideline, submit a paper somewhere, and then get rejected, submit somewhere else, etc. If there's no cascading model within a publisher where you're being then downgraded or upgraded in rare cases. But these things are changing on the researcher side anyway. Every publisher talk to will tell you about the flood of submissions from AI-generated content, right? So that is also something that researchers are already leveraging. So maybe, Carsten, you can also say something to that for SciFlow.
Yeah. So what I think when it comes to research integrity, that it's a shared responsibility. The endpoint might be, or the final responsibility maybe lies within the publisher or the publishing institution, but to prevent paper mills, to really wave the flag for integrity, of course, it requires the researchers, and I definitely agree, it also requires the institutions with stewardships. And yes, and therefore some tools, some capabilities comes in handy.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe, Dirk, you can also share that a little bit for the researchers using every ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, all the time.
Sure.
Already. That is their academic freedom. Of course, please let them use these tools, and these won't go away. You mentioned it in the beginning, Dirk, already, that there is a great opportunity for it, and all these tools can and should also be used by publishers, right? That is something. How can it be today that you don't see if that is a paper mill template, or that it has been generated with AI, or that a reference or a DOI link doesn't work? Then you are really just a very bad publisher if that happens on your publication, because it takes 5 minutes maximum to check these things today, and that it doesn't include an army of editors that are checking and reading every single submission, but that can be automated through every submission system that exists, and can also be checked prior to that, right? So an institution should also have an interest in actually letting that not happen, and educating their researchers on, here, use these tools. Don't just ChatGPT your next article, but make sure it's all good and fine and it's faster. So maybe, Dirk, is there something along these lines that you have in stock already for Bielefeld, or where your thinking's gone there?
Yeah, not really. I mean, there are regulations at the universities regarding the usage of artificial intelligence in, let's say, research or in teaching. This is quite common now, but some universities are starting to think about how artificial intelligence can help them to make their processes or workflows more efficient. For example, we as a library, we are having projects in which make use of artificial intelligence when it comes to the creation of metadata or structural data, in vitro digitization, for example. We have developed a chatbot, for example, in order to improve our services. We are developing chatbots for our discovery services, but what we are talking about here in this panel is to make use of artificial intelligence in the process of publishing. Yeah. Not in order to make it easy to create content, but in order to make the workflow of publishing more efficient, and, for example, to tackle those questions about research integrity and so on. And that's what I'm interested in, that artificial intelligence can make the workflows more efficient, not only at the institutional level, but also on the publisher level. And of course, I expect that if you reduce costs on every side, on the publisher side and on the institutional side, that it must lead to lower prices, of course.
Yeah, fully agree. And I think that is quite a nice end of statement, because we have successfully filled all the time that was given to us. And I don't know if there are any questions right now. We are on time. And thank you very much. I thought this was quite insightful and fruitful, and I love the comparison and also similarities of the Indian and German initiatives here that, as we also said prior to this call, have not really spoken about this in that scenario. So I like how this round came together to compare this a little bit. And I'm looking forward to the outcomes also in the changes, hopefully cost savings, but especially the stewardship that institutions can have. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any question to the session directly? Otherwise, we would stop it here now.
Afterwards, with a coffee.
Exactly. Thank you very much for coming. Hope it was short while.
Thank you. Have a nice conference.
Ja, danke. Tschüss.